Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. The introduction. On a dreary Tuesday morning in March, fog enveloped the small town of Willow Creek, casting a gray pallor over its unsuspecting streets. Nestled in the Pacific Northwest, where dense forests intertwined with quiet neighborhoods, the town boasted a charm that belied the darkness occasionally lurking beneath its surface. It was the kind of place where everyone knew each other, where front porches doubled as gathering spots, and where the sound of police sirens was a rare intruder. But that tranquility was shattered when the body of a local woman was discovered in the woods just outside town. Sarah Mitchell, a vibrant 32-year-old with an infectious laugh and a passion for painting, had attended the recent town meeting, a gathering that brought even the most reclusive residents out of their home. Her absence from the following day's coffee gathering sent alarm bells ringing. But it wasn't until her neighbor alerted the authorities to a vague unease that a search was initiated. The police responded promptly, following a series of disjointed leads that led them deeper into the labyrinth of the town's relationships. As the day folded into dusk, a search party combed through the thick underbrush of the nearby forest, their flashlights piercing through the dimming light. Whispers of anxiety mingled in the chilling air as volunteers scoured the area, and with every passing hour, hope dwindled. Then, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, one of the searchers stumbled upon her. The tranquility of Willow Creek had been forever altered, turning its harmonies into an eerie silence. The echoes of questions began to swell. Who'd want to harm Sarah Mitchell? And what secrets did the quaint town hold? As the investigation commenced, it became painfully clear this was only the beginning. The victim, Sarah Mitchell, was a woman who painted life in colors. Vivid streaks of creativity splashed across her canvases mirrored the vibrancy of her spirit. On weekends, she could often be found with a paintbrush in hand, perched on the edge of Willow Creek Lake, capturing the shimmering reflection of the trees and the water. Her artwork drew admiration from the locals, some even claiming it brought warmth to the dreary winters that enveloped the town. It was a community that celebrated its own. But like so many bright sparks, Sarah's light was not without shadow. To those who knew her, Sarah was more than just the artist with an uncanny ability to breathe life into a blank canvas. She was the supportive friend, the budding activist, and the woman who fought for community causes, demanding equal rights and advocating for the environment. But there lay an undercurrent of distress in her life that remained unseen by most. Sarah was struggling with the dissolution of a long-term relationship, and as her walls crumbled, isolation crept in. The vibrant social gatherings she once attended became fewer and farther between. After her departure from the art community, a tight-knit network that thrived on connectivity and support concerned friends reached out, but went unanswered. Her phone calls became less frequent, and the invitations she once eagerly accepted turned to haunting echoes in empty spaces. Those who cared found it hard to reconcile the spirited woman they adored with the shadow of her absence that whispered quietly in alleys and among coffee conversations. As police began piecing together the fragments of Sarah's final days, they unearthed a portrait of a woman in transition turn between the colors of her artistic life and the grays of heartbreak, each shade reflecting a deeper emotional canvas that many never had the chance to see. In Willow Creek, a community accustomed to knowing its residents was now grappling with the reality that to understand someone fully often required looking beyond the surface. a crime scene. The forest outside Willow Creek unfolded like an intricate puzzle, each tree a sentinel standing watch over the secrets concealed within. It was here, under the damp boughs of towering firs, that Sarah Mitchell's lifeless body was found. A grim testament to the darkness that could invade even the sunniest of lives. As dusk descended, the scene was cloaked in an eerie stillness, interrupted only by the crackling of fallen leaves beneath the boots of the officers who cordoned off the area. Detective Laura Hayden arrived, her brow furrowed with a mixture of determination and dread. Already, the air hung thick with the scent of decaying earth and the metallic tang of impending tragedy. A forensic team worked diligently, their fluorescent vests blinking like beacons in the gathering twilight, while uniformed officers ushered reporters and curious onlookers away. This was a place where nature thrived, yet it had become marred by violence, and she felt each heartbeat of the town echoing in the silence. Sarah lay in a small clearing, partially obscured by leafy underbrush. The soft morning fog had lingered, clinging to the ground as though mourning the life that had been lost. Her once bright clothing was muted and dusty, the vibrant colors overshadowed by the stark finality of the scene. A small canvas, torn and stained, lay nearby, a reflection, and perhaps a remnant of her final unfinished piece. It seemed almost poetic, set against the backdrop of tragedy. Detective Hayden knelt beside the body, cataloging every detail in her mind. The positioning of Sarah's arms suggested a struggle, a desperate bid for life that was sadly cut short. As the team collected evidence, a few strands of hair caught on a branch, a frayed bracelet that once encircled her wrist, detective surveyed the area, searching for signs that hinted at who might have carried out such a heinous act. The forest, once a refuge filled with nature's beauty, had become a twisting labyrinth of despair, hinting at buried secrets and hidden agendas within a tight-knit community. Within the shadows of that tranquil place, it was clear that the quest for justice would unearth paths leading both forward and back into the fray of Willow Creek's entwined lives. The early investigation, with the grim specter of Sarah Mitchell's death fresh in the minds of the townsfolk, Detective Hayden focused on building the framework of an investigation that would require piercing through layers of small-town familiarity and uncovering hidden truths. By the time dawn broke over Willow Creek, illuminating the fog-laden streets, the police station had transformed into a bustling epicenter of urgency and anxiety. The quiet comfort of the town had been shattered, and the weight of unresolved questions loomed. Detective Hayden gathered her team in a cramped conference room, the air thick with quiet tension as they reviewed the scant information available. Sarah's friends were to be interviewed first, their insights vital in mapping her last known interactions. As stories unfolded, a pattern began forming, a web of connections that hinted at conflicts and unresolved tensions. Each person brought with them memories, laughter, and the sting of impending loss. And yet one phrase echoed in their narratives: she was different lately. The interviews revealed snippets of information about a heated discussion Sarah had during the recent town meeting regarding preservation efforts of the local park. It had been a passionate debate, fueled by emotions and competing interests. Opponents to her stance were quick to surface, some claiming Sarah's fervor had ruffled feathers, while others insisted her urgency was necessary. Detective Hayden noted the names that kept reappearing, circling the names of a few individuals with particular intensity. In the following days, officers diligently followed leads, canvassing the area surrounding the crime scene. One witness, an older gentleman who often fished by the lake, recalled seeing a dark truck parked suspiciously near the entrance of the woods on the night Sarah went missing. However, with no license plate number, it became another piece in an expanding puzzle that felt insurmountable. As the investigation picked up momentum, Hayden understood the reality of her task: to navigate through long-standing alliances, unspoken grievances, and perhaps the uncertainties hidden behind friendly smiles. There was a palpable sense of urgency as confidences began to unravel. In a town where everyone's life intertwined, the culprit could be anyone, lurking in the shadows of familiarity, a chilling reminder that the familiar often concealed the unpredictable horrors of humanity. The dead ends. Days melted into weeks in the aftermath of Sarah Mitchell's death. And with each sunrise, the shadows of uncertainty deepened for Detective Hayden and her team. Frustration clung to them like the damp mist that enveloped Willow Creek, where every promising lead seemed to dissolve into unyielding fog. Search warrants had been issued, but the complexity of intertwining lives made the job painfully. With every individual they interviewed, the sense that justice was slipping further away crested like the morning tide. While the investigation initially stirred community involvement, a sense of unease began to permeate the town. The once bustling chatter over coffee was replaced by cautious glances and hurried conversations. Reports of sightings of unfamiliar faces dwindled, leaving the police to circle back to familiar sources, only to strike the same dead ends. A registered owner of a dark truck was identified, a transient who claimed to have left town before Sarah's disappearance. Another lead turned out to be nothing more than the ramblings of an elderly resident who regularly misunderstood the officer's question. Detective Hayden felt the weight of collective hopes and fears pressing against her chest, each faltering step echoing through the tight-knit community. The more they dug, the more their suspicions faded alongside their leads into the quiet corners of Willow Creek. Yet beneath the surface of these setbacks lay a simmering tension. As Hayden re-examined the interviews, she noticed subtle nuances in the friend's story's phrase here, a hesitated laugh there that hinted at unspoken truths. Could it be that potential motives lingered closer to Sarah than she had originally perceived? Fearful glances among the friends created a rift in their unity, transforming camaraderie into an atmosphere of suspicion. That was the puzzle piece she needed to focus on. The possibility that one friend held the key to unraveling everything. As the investigation confronted another lull, Hayden resolved to delve deeper into the dynamics of that circle. The familiar faces once trusted could now hide unimaginable secrets, concealed like art behind a canvas. Perhaps the path to uncovering those buried truths lay within the very friendships that bound Sarah to her community. Even in a town as quaint as Willow Creek, the darkness that lay beneath could prove to be as consuming as the fog that draped over its streets. A break in the case. It was a nippy afternoon when the breakthrough came, slicing through the monotonous frustrations of ongoing interviews and false leads. Detective Hayden was sifting through myriad notes in her office when her phone buzzed insistently, cutting through the stillness of the room. It was Officer Malik, his voice taut with urgency as he shared the details of new evidence that had surfaced. "Detective, "You'll want to see this," he said, the gravity of his tone leaving no room for question. An anonymous tip had been received. Someone had seen Sarah argue with a friend at the art studio a week before her death, the argument escalating to an intensity unseen in the normally harmonious space. The witness, whose identity was still concealed, expressed feeling uneasy about the confrontation, especially when they heard distinct threats exchanged. With a renewed sense of purpose, Hayden gathered her team, and they trekked to the art studio, a sun-soaked haven filled with vibrant colors and energetic chatter. Now, however, it felt hollow as they sifted through Sarah's sketches and brushes, remnants of a life abruptly halted. The studio owner, Carla, disclosed that she had witnessed Sarah and a close friend, Jenna, often embroiled in passionate debates regarding the direction of their art, not only as individuals, but also concerning a local initiative to promote artistry within the community. Though Jenna was an unwavering support for Sarah, there had been rising tensions as the movement became more divisive. Since Sarah's death, Jenna had grown increasingly withdrawn, avoiding public spaces and reluctant to discuss their previous arguments. Hayden noted this with keen interest and felt the pull to confront Jenna directly. The next day, Detective Hayden arranged for a voluntary interview with Jenna, creating an environment that encouraged openness. Yet a palpable tension filled the room as Jenna stepped into the precinct, her previously vibrant demeanor dulled to a whisper of its former self. During the questioning, her reactions were stilted. As the conversation warmed, the detective felt a flicker of something uneasy lurking just beneath the surface of Jenna's carefully curated responses. As the interview stretched on, it became increasingly clear that Jenna's reluctance to engage with specific details about their disagreement hinted at a fear deeper than mere guilt. The detective believed she was onto something significant, a feeling embossed with the promise of new revelations hidden in the depths of their friendship. In the tight confines of fear and loyalty, the accessible truths started to crystallize, ready to unfurl with the right coaxing. The fog began to clear, revealing an intricately woven web of emotions that, if untangled, held the potential to solve Sarah's murder. The suspect. Hours turned into days as Detective Hayden delved deeper into the mystery surrounding Jenna. Her previously soft-spoken camaraderie with Sarah becoming a double-edged sword. A nagging sensation twisted in Hayden's gut. This wasn't just the story of a friend plagued by grief, but a tale with layers yet to be peeled back. The more she learned, the more the pieces aligned to a startling hypothesis that challenged her initial perceptions. As Hayden prepared to re-interview Jenna, she needed to confront the underlying issues that strained their friendship, a tangled web of jealousy, ambition, and their shared dreams of artistic success. It was time to shape questions that pressed against Jenna's defenses, hoping to uncover what she was hiding. In the sterile interrogation room, Jenna's expression morphed from wary to defiant as Hayden posed pointed questions about the tumultuous argument they engaged in prior to Sarah's death. "You mentioned in passing that your aspirations were starting to conflict," the detective probed, lowering her voice to an almost conspiratorial whisper. "Do you believe Sarah felt threatened by your success?" Jenna's jaw tightened and her eyes narrowed. "It wasn't like that," she countered, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. "We were both artists. Competition created pressure. That's all." She leaned back slightly, her arms crossed defensively. But the tension in the air shifted, bringing with it a potent realization. Jenna was not merely a grieving friend. She had become the very essence of a woman Motivations grew tangled amidst ambition and insecurity. The art they had once shared had borne a fierce competitiveness, much like the duel of colors on each canvas they produced together. As the investigation unfolded, it became increasingly evident that ambition could often tip into darkness, and jealousy could carve the sharpest of edges. Hayden pressed on. "If you loved Sarah as you claim, why did you stop calling after the argument? Did she threaten to expose your struggles to the gallery?" At that moment, the dam seemed to crack as Jenna spoke, her voice quivering under the pressure. "I just couldn't deal with it anymore. She was better than me. I was tired of pretending." But her vexation flickered into distress, as if unraveling threads of their friendship would expose her own vulnerability. The subsequent pause between them stretched almost unbearably, revealing the intricate dance of emotions weighing on Jenna, dangerous blend of resentment mingling with regret. In those moments, it became clear to Hayden that the path ahead would require revealing the truth lurking in the shadows and illuminating the depth of the loyalties that once forged their bond. A brighter light awaited, but it demanded the courage to face the darkness lurking in one's own heart. The trial. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation, the tension palpable as the community of Willow Creek gathered to witness the unfolding of a tragedy that had reverberated through their tight-knit existence. Sunlight streamed through grand windows, illuminating the faces solemnly etched with uncertainty and expectation. Detective Hayden sat quietly in the back, surveying the room filled with concerned townsfolk, friends, and family, all united by grief and the yearning for justice. At the front of the room, Jenna stood, her once vibrant facade rendered fragile under the weight of the charges against her. She was accused of murder, the culmination of an investigation that had peeled back layers of friendship, ambition, and betrayal. The prosecuting attorney meticulously laid out the evidence: audio recordings of the heated argument, the eyewitness testimony that identified Jenna at the scene, and the forensic evidence linking her to the crime. But the defense responded defiantly, painting a picture of a naive artist consumed by grief rather than malevolence. They argued that the conflict between Jenna and Sarah was born out of artistic rivalry, but it was nothing more than heated debate among friendsons that did not hold the weight of murder. During the testimony, Jenna's hollow eyes glistened with tears as she spoke of her friendship with Sarah. Her voice trembled as she recounted their shared aspirations, their dreams of art, and her struggles to overcome insecurities. It was compelling, yet every time Jenna reached for sympathy, the courtroom shifted. Judge Fine's gavel struck with authority, enforcing order amid the rising emotions. Witness after witness took the stand, each bringing their own perspective to illuminate the complexities of Sarah and Jenna's relationship. But it was the testimony from Detective Hayden that moved the narrative in a bold new direction. She described how friendship could be an intricate tapestry, quickly fraying under pressure. Both artists shared successes, and yet jealousy festered in the shadows of their brilliance, culminating in an argument that spiraled beyond their control. The courtroom hung on her every word as she returned to the evidence, emphasizing Jenna's emotions that fateful night. As the trial drew to a close, the weight of the truth loomed heavily, both in their hearts and minds. The jury was tasked with dissecting a painful relational history, contextualizing ambition against the backdrop of jealousy, love against the specter of betrayal. Detective Hayden could only hope that the verdict would resonate with the community's need for resolution to honor Sarah's vibrant spirit while bringing forth accountability. When the time for deliberation came, the courtroom became a space of hushed whispers and murmurs, each individual wrestling with their own uncertainties. The gavel would soon strike again, revealing whether the shadows of artistry and ambition could ever be illuminated fully within the light of justice, or if they would remain hidden, neatly arrayed beneath the canvas of human complexity. The aftermath. The verdict reverberated through the courtroom like a distant thunderclap, a culmination of whispered hopes and heavy hearts. Jenna was found guilty of second-degree murder, a decision that left the community reeling. As Detective Hayden left the courthouse, she caught sight of the townsfolk spilling out into the streets, their faces a tapestry of emotions: relief, sorrow, disbelief. Willow Creek had weathered a storm, but the scars were fresh, and the consequences of betrayal had etched deep lines upon their collective conscience. In the weeks that followed, the quiet, familiar streets felt altered, forever impacted by the events that transpired. Sarah's absence hung heavily in the air, a ghost that lingered on every corner, reminding residents of the fragility of life and the darkness that can lie hidden behind closed doors. The art studio, once alive with creativity, sat silent, its windows clouded, waiting for the return of laughter and inspiration. Yet, no canvas could capture the depth of loss that echoed through the halls where dreams once flourished. Detective Hayden found herself reflecting on the complexities of the case long after the trial. She knew that even amidst the resolution, the scars of betrayal would take longer to heal. Jenna, sentenced to years in prison, would serve as a reminder of the thin veneer that separated friendship from envy. In the solitude of her office, Hayden worked to process the weight of the investigation, acknowledging how easily the bonds of love could unravel into something dark and irrevocable. The community began to regroup, but the scars remained imprinted on their interaction. Conversations that had once flowed effortlessly were now tinged with hesitance, a carefulness born from the shadows that had told too many stories of jealousy and loss. Art shows that were once a celebration became memorials, saluting the vibrant life of Sarah while also mourning the fracture that had turned so many into witnesses of tragedy. Yet amidst the dark aftermath, a new determination began to emerge. The townsfolk of Willow Creek, bound together by the shared trauma, started organizing art initiatives in Sarah's name. They set up scholarships for aspiring artists, creating a legacy that would honor her spirit, reminding them that beauty could still thrive even in the desolate aftermath of sorrow. As the leaves began to change, heralding the arrival of autumn, the town turned its focus to healing, building bridges over the chasms left in the wake of betrayal and loss. Detective Hayden stood by, aware that the journey toward closure would be slow, but perhaps with each thoughtful stroke of paint and every shared conversation, the curtains of darkness would eventually part, allowing new light to seep into the heart of Willow Creek once more. Reflection. As the chill of winter settled over Willow Creek, Detective Hayden found solace in the quiet moments of reflection. The gnarled branches of the trees outside her window framed a view that was both haunting and beautiful, a reminder of the duality that life often presented. In the aftermath of Sarah's murder and Jenna's conviction, the town's resilience slowly began to surface, yet she could feel the lingering echoes of pain weaving through their shared existence. She recalled the days spent following the threads of friendship and animosity, how the investigation had demanded not only her intellect but her heart. It was all too easy to forget the human elements in such grim circumstance. A woman lost, a life wasted, a friendship turned cruel. As the memories replayed, she felt the heaviness of each unspoken word, each flicker of apprehension caught in those fateful moments that spiraled into violence. It had been a case of colors blurred by emotion, and Hayden understood that the scars would remain long after the story had faded from headlines. Conversations in cafes now held a different weight. Laughter often came with a hint of melancholy. Yet there was hope churning beneath the surface, like an artist's brush poised above a canvas, ready to create something new. Sarah's legacy continued to unfold. Her art, displayed not as reminders of loss, but as beacons of inspiration for a community learning to heal. For Detective Hayden, each step forward was a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of caring deeply, of cultivating the light in a world that sometimes trembled in darkness. She carried the image of Sarah's vibrant spirit with her, a driving force fueling her commitment to seek justice, embrace compassion, and foster understanding in the hearts of those left behind.